Hey, what's up, friends? It's Moses. I hope and pray that you guys are doing well. I'm back with another follow up video when I made a video about um, giving you reasons why you should consider a career in trucking. I promised that I would make another video to give you some other reasons to look at for you to decide whether trucking is really gonna be your career of choice. And so I just want to tackle the cons. In the previous video, we talked about the pros. We talked about the positive parts, the things that you can look at and say that, you know what, I think I want to be part of the trucking career. In this video, I want to share with you some things that you may look at and just want to weigh all your options so that you decide whether this is the career for you. So I remember in the last video, one of the things that I talked about and I said I would cover in this video is what I'm going to start with. I shared with you in that video that one of the ways that the trucking industries and the trucking companies try to convince people or tell people about the trucking industry and becoming truck drivers is they tell them about the part where they get to travel and see the country. Well, that is true that when you go over the road, you get to see the country. But the thing about it is because you are on the job and you are moving from point A to point B, most of the time you are on a certain schedule because they need you to move a load from point A to point B within a certain time frame. Most of the time that time frame is kind of tight. In other words, you only have time to pick up and do whatever is necessary to make that delivery. So you don't really get to see a lot of the country. Yes, you get to know like different states, you get to see different places, but you don't get to, when you think about touring the country, you may be thinking about going to, like points of interest. But because you are driving this big truck, there's no way you're going to be stopping at every place or going off the freeway to go into certain places. So most of the time, even though you are seeing the country, you are not seeing it in terms of enjoying the things that you would love to enjoy. Now, I remember in that video, one of the things that I talked about, I said that things have changed now. And what I meant that when I came into trucking in 2006, we didn't have things like, like the Lyft and the Ubers. There's a lot that has changed in that now you can truly get to see parts. For example, I remember then if you were, like caught up, maybe you had a load that delivers on a Monday, but you got the load like on maybe like a Thursday, and then you got close by the customer on Friday, they don't take you. Maybe you got there when they are closed on a Friday evening, and maybe they are off for the weekend. You would spend Saturday and Sunday seated at a truck stop. But right now, the way things are, at least you can maybe leave your truck at the truck stop, call Uber, and go out and maybe go to some places. You can figure out a way to rent a vehicle and go maybe do some touring. There are many things that have changed that right now you can really enjoy that part of it. But the idea why I wanted to mention that in this video is because I think sometimes when the people in the trucking industry are trying to tell people about the trucking industry, they tell them that they will be enjoying travel. In the past, that wasn't really so much of a true statement, but now you can. So I want you to take that knowing that yes, you may or you may not enjoy really traveling like the way we think of it. But if traveling is your passion, you will figure out ways to make it happen because things have totally changed. The other thing that you may not know about trucking is that it is a lonely place. If you come into the industry and you are driving by yourself, now it's different if you come in maybe like you are a team, you are maybe a brother and brother, or you're a husband and wife team, like you give yourselves company, that is different. But if you come in, maybe you are by yourself, it can be lonely out here, out there on the road. I remember one of the things that I always thought I thought I was, like somebody who enjoyed to be alone. But then when I got into trucking, I quickly realized that there's a difference between enjoying to be alone and being lonely. Those are two different things. Yes, you may enjoy the part of being alone, but being alone and being lonely is are two different things. So, tracking, if you are not used to it, it can be a lonely place, because when you, especially when you now when I talk about loneliness and all some of these things, they are applying for to those drivers that are over the road, that don't get to go home every day like we local truck drivers do. So you get a load, maybe the load is like say 1900 miles, right? You are going to start driving, you are going to listen to music, you're going to get tired of music, you are going to listen to talk shows, get tired of talk shows, you are going to turn off everything and pray, and then get tired of praying, and you're going to keep quiet, be silent, get tired of being silent. You are going to, I mean, it's like it's a lonely world out there, and you are going to do that maybe like for 3 consecutive days, where you are just driving on the freeway. You just get off to sleep or to use the restroom or things like that. So it can be a lonely place. The other thing that trucking can do, it can put a strain on relationships. And mostly here, I'm talking about those of you that are married. If you come into the industry, you are married, and especially if you have young ones. It's one thing if you are married, just you and your spouse, and you've talked about it, you've prepared yourselves, and you're going to go out there, you know what is expected. It's one thing if you don't have little ones. But when you have children involved, it can put a strain on relationships. Not only will it put a strain between you and your spouse, but it's going to put a strain between you and the children. And this, I think, strains on relationship is one of the reasons why people get burnt out, why people give up, or why you see that they are always looking for drivers, because as soon as somebody gets experience, they are ready to start doing local work. So there's a strain on relationship. When you are coming into the industry, you really need to prepare yourself, to know what you are going to do, to make sure that you have some guards in place to help with that. What are you going to do? And sometimes I think you may think it's easy until you get in and you realize it's not as easy as it seems, as it may look to begin with. When you are used to being with your spouse, seeing yourselves every day, and all of a sudden your spouse is gone for 2 weeks, you only talk with them on the phone, it can be really hard. So the other thing, we'll say that long hours. This is not, like most not trucking jobs. Most jobs, people go and work for 8 hours. Like it's the 9 to 5 jobs. They just go, put in their 8 hours, and they are home. They get to do other things and all that stuff. Trucking is like, especially if you are over the road, you forget about the hours. It's like you are going to be out there driving 9, 10, sometimes even maxing out your 11 hours of driving. Not only are you driving, but you are dealing with shippers, and then of course sometimes looking for parking. So it's not your normal a USA job where it's an 8-hour shift. This is you're putting in long hours. Even for us truck drivers, we do like 8 hours is not enough. The minimum we put in is like 10 hours. We do, like, for example, personally I put in around 10 to 11 hours, and that is because I share my truck with somebody else. So my shift is really within a 12-hour window, so I put in 10 to 11 hours every day. So when we are talking about trucking, we are talking about long hours. If you are somebody that is used to 8 hours, and you think like when they give you overtime and you do 9, 10 hours, you think, oh, that is too much, then trucking may not be for you, because every time you are working, you are putting in a lot of hours, especially for those brothers and sisters of ours that are over the road. The other thing is that it can be a risky, career. One of the things that I was surprised is when I was looking into it, trying to figure out how risky is trucking, I realized that we fall in the top 10 jobs of the most dangerous jobs, right? Actually, we are around number 5, number 6 of the most dangerous jobs, and you never hear, like anyone talk about that. Usually, like you'll hear maybe like they talk about and I'm saying this with all respect, but they say like maybe policemen, right? They say, oh, policemen, that's the most one of the most dangerous jobs. And when you look in the like statistics, you realize that policemen are not even part of the top 10, but we as truck drivers are part of the top 10, because you realize we are driving is what we do. That means that every day that we are driving, we are exposed to accidents. I mean, you are out there driving with other big trucks and driving with these small cars. So anytime you are on the road, your exposure to accidents increases. And these trucks that we drive are really, really very big. And so just maneuvering them, it takes a lot of patience to be able to maneuver them. It takes skill to be able to maneuver them, and some of the people that you share the road with do not understand how these trucks work, so that even increases the danger in it. That's why it's very important for those of us who know God to always ask for His protection and always be I'm always appreciative, because I know that it's not because of the skill of like knowing how to drive. It is because of God's protection on my life. And so I am so grateful for the way God protects us even when we are out there on the road, because trucking is one of the most dangerous jobs in the USA. The other thing, again, to do, it's not like risky, but it's safety. One of the things that you may not realize is that when you are out there on the road, especially again for those that are over the road, it can there's a safety issue involved in it, because remember, you're going to be driving for miles and miles. Sometimes you will go to areas where it's like maybe the truck like breaks down when you are in an area where there's no maybe even cell phone like signals, and you just have to rely maybe on the Qualcomm. You just have maybe to figure out what to do. You are out there in like kind of like in a no man's land. What do you do in those instances? There are times when you may run out of a time, but you are trying to find parking. There's no parking. You can't find parking, and so you have to figure out where to park. You've seen truck drivers park on the side of the roads, on the side of the freeways. All those things increase to the to your safety, to what's the word I'm trying to look for? It increases to being less safe. So safety can be an issue. I don't know if you've heard of some of the instances where even truck drivers have been killed. Like people just come find truck drivers parked at night, and they kill them, maybe because they were trying to rob them or something like that. So there are some safety issues that are involved. You've got to be aware anytime you are out there, especially when it's getting late or you are in an area that you don't know of. You have to be very, very careful. Sometimes when you are hauling we call them high value loads. You may be carrying things that are of high value, and maybe some people already know about it, that you are carrying some stuff from a certain company, and they know, maybe especially electronics, that those things are things that thieves want to steal, and so they may want to ambush you to steal that stuff. So that's again safety issues. So safety can be a challenge. The other thing that is not really as common, but one of the other things that you can face is that your paycheck may be inconsistent. Again, this is mostly for those of the drivers that are over the road. There are times when you may, most of the drivers that drive over the road are paid by the miles, right? And so there are times when a good week, like you get loads, and maybe you are a solo driver and you are able to drive like 2,800 miles, 3,000 miles. And that's a good week, because that means you've been driving every day and you've been averaging maybe like, who knows, let's say you've been averaging about 500 to 650 maybe miles a day, right? And you maybe for 5 6 days, that right there is a good week. As long as you are not out of hours, that is a good week. But then a week may come when, like, you are in an area, they send you to an area and there are no loads coming from that area, and so by the end of the week you've only done like 1,000 miles or 800 miles. So there's that inconsistency in paycheck. It's not like some other careers where, like, like you go in and put in your 40 hours, and it's almost like every week you're putting in 40 hours and your paycheck is consistent. In trucking, you can't really bank on that, because this week will be different from another week. This month will be different from next month. You can never know exactly what your paycheck is going to be like. So sometimes it may be good, sometimes it may not be good. The thing about that is some trucking companies have come up with ways of guaranteeing, saying that, for example, they may say that whether you drive 2,500 miles or you don't, we will make sure that your paycheck at least has 2,500 miles. So that kind of helps out in those unstable and inconsistent paychecks, but that can be a challenge right there. The other thing is, in some careers, there's kind of like a ladder to climb, right? You know that there's an entry level, and then when you get into the company, you are like, okay, I'm now into the company. I'm gonna work and try to work towards a certain position, and then from that position, I'm gonna work towards a certain position. So it's like there's a certain kind of ladder or a certain career growth path within some of these other careers. But in trucking, we really don't have that kind of structure. You don't start out as a driver and then say, okay, now I'm going to look to go from driver to become this kind of person, and go to this kind of position. Now, there are some people that can be able to do that, where you can be able to start as a driver but figure out ways of going into maybe management, and then in management maybe figure out ways of going up. But it is not like we have a career path that is set out for us. And I think maybe I've even talked about this in previous videos. I think that's because we are always in demand, right? They are always looking for drivers, and so one of the things they're just trying, I think, not to do is to give us a path to follow that right there. Because I've heard of drivers, including myself, that have tried to figure out ways of like getting their own career paths within a company, and it can be hard. So if you're looking for something where you can be able to climb a ladder, we don't have that specific ladder. You can figure out ways, like I said in the other video, that most drivers, one of the things that they look forward to doing is when they are no longer a company driver, they want to go into maybe like becoming a lease operator, and then becoming an own operator, and maybe build a fleet. That is kind of what we have. Others, when they come in, they try to figure out how to get into dispatch, and then in dispatch maybe try to figure out how to go into management. But we don't have a set career path. The other thing is, when you get into trucking, one of the things that you realize that it is time consuming. So when you come into trucking as a driver, you are going to be out there on the road. You really don't get time to do anything else. It's like it takes up all the time. Like I told you, we work more than it's not like the normal, like 8-hour job a day, and then for those people that are going and work, like maybe from 9 to 5, from there they can go and maybe do a course, do like evening classes to build towards something else. In trucking, especially for those people that are over the road, you are out there. It's like you don't get to do any other thing. Most of them, when they come back home, they only come back to do a restart. They don't get the opportunity to do anything else. So it can be time consuming. So you get into the industry, and before you know it, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years have passed by, and you don't know any other thing other than trucking. So it kind of, you have to be very careful. If you think there's something else that you may want to do, you want to think twice about that. You can come in and then at one point just say, you know what, I'm done with it, I'm getting out. That is what some people do, you know, like they come in and they're like, when they realize there's no other way out, it's time consuming, they just go out and do something else. So it's very hard for you to do anything else. The other thing also, it can be hard on your health. We sit most of the time, and again, for those that are over the road, they are driving, they are out there on the road. If you are not careful, you realize that you may fail to do exercises. If you don't have the discipline, working out can be hard, eating healthy can be hard, and getting good sleep, good rest can also be hard. So those three things all have an impact on your health. If you are not sleeping well, if you are you're not exercising, if you are not eating well, you can really suffer when it comes to health. So you have to be very careful. You have to build some disciplines to make sure that you don't fall into the trap of being unhealthy. It is something that we just have to be disciplined about. But I'm just saying, for those of you that are planning to come into the industry, understand that trucking can really be can put a toll on your health. It can be hard on your health. So those right there are the things that I want you to consider and look at as cons. Again, we said that it may not be as adventurous as they told you or as you think it is. We said it can be lonely. We said it can put a strain on your relationships. It can be a risky career. It can be a career where your safety can be in danger. The paychecks are not consistent. We don't have a set ladder growth career, you know, like ladder to climb. It can be very hard for you to do anything else. It can be hard on your health, and also it is a career where you have to put in a lot of hours. It's not your normal 8-hour shift, you know, like career. So those right there are the things that you need to look at. So with these negatives together with the positives that I gave you in the other video, you should be able to try and figure out whether trucking is the right career for you. You can weigh all areas and see and figure out and come up with a game plan if you choose to come into the career, into trucking, to see how to navigate and make sure that you become a successful truck driver. Here at Driver Success, we just want to make sure that we give you the information. I want to give you the information to help you as you make your transition into the trucking career if you choose to. Having said that, by the way, for those of you that don't know, I work with JB Hunt. If you are out there and you want to be part of the JB Hunt team, we are currently looking for drivers, whether you are just out of training. The one thing that we don't do is we don't have a CDL school. So we are looking for those drivers that already have their CDL. If you don't have experience, right now we have a training program in some locations where you can be part of that training program. If you have experience, then that shouldn't be a problem. If we have any openings in your area, we will bring you on if you are the right person. If you know, like if you are the right person for the company. And even if you are an owner operator, we are also looking for owner operators. So all you have to do is just reach out to me, send me an email, moses@driversuccess.com, or you can go to driversuccess.com and fill out a form. When you send me your email, send me your name, your phone number, and zip code. I'm going to ask Susan to give you a call. Susan is really good at what she does, and she will see what positions are available in your area. She will see what your needs are, and then she will see how she can hook you up so that you can come and be part of the JB Hunt team. Now, I know there are some of you that may decide to just go directly to JB Hunt, whether through their website or by calling them. If you choose to do that, I ask that you let them know the very first time you talk to a recruiter, let them know that Moses, give them my name, Moses, and my alpha code, KANM8. and let them know that Moses referred you. And then that way, when you get hired on, they will thank me in terms of giving me what we call a referral bonus. All right, friends, until next time, stay blessed and stay safe. If you have any questions, send me an email, moses@driversuccess.com, or you can leave them in the comment section below if you are watching this video on YouTube. Until next time, stay blessed and stay safe. Bye-bye.